Hi, I'm Brendia Miller, just a girl who feels like she barely survived from being 18 to 29, from an abusive marriage to divorce, pregnant with my sweet girl to the mom of an angel, and this was all before I was even 20. Since then, I married the high school sweetheart, had a sweet boy, wrote a few books, blogs, and in 9 years, 3 states, 4 cities, 13 homes, 2 hotels, 1 angel girl, 1 sweet boy, a bunch of jobs, and an insane amount of love and laughter. Here I am, 30 years old, talking to you, sharing my wisdom from the infinite lessons I have learned while still learning to navigate around the things that I haven't. Come along and navigate with me. There is room here for your joy, your grief, your hormones, your emotions, your friendships, relationships, heartbreak, and all of the other things that come along with being in your 30s. So it's been like almost a year since I launched In Your 30s podcast, and there's basically been no episodes. So let's fix that. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome back to the In Your 30s podcast with your host, Brendia Miller. So today we're going to play a little game I like to call Catch Up. And it is a regular that I play on podcast episodes. And as you will notice, there's not been a whole lot of those this year because life instantly went from 29 years old to 30 to life is crazier than it's ever been. So, yeah. The biggest part of our life that has become so crazy since last August is we relocated to Tennessee, and we have absolutely no idea why. So we know why we relocated. My grandmother was sick and she was signing DNRs, and my mom was overwhelmed, and my sister is perpetually overwhelmed. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to move home and help them, and we can be closer to our family, because it was taking a lot to drive 3 hours and then drive 3 hours back every time we wanted to go see them, traveling so much for the holidays. And then on top of that, no one was really coming to see us. And so when my grandmother signed her DNR, that was when I was like, okay, let's go ahead and get this done and let's move. So, nothing happens and we end up with regrets. Turns out the move was the regret. But that's okay. It won't be forever, but it has definitely not been fun. And honestly, I think at the end of the day, it's changed the dynamic of a lot of the relationships we had with the people that we were moving back near. So, yeah, it's been chaos. It's been insane. We went from having really good relationships, I feel like, with basically all of our family, and my mother-in-law, I'm convinced 110% she hates me. And I feel like the moment I said mother-in-law, someone just knew. Someone was like, oh yeah, I know where this is going. She done said mother-in-law. But yes, I'm about 99% sure that she actually just hates me, which is okay. I just am tired of dealing with it. There's a lot of chaos in the living situation that we are in right now with her and her boyfriend, and it's just not fun. It's not fun at all. And then, me and my sister are not talking anymore again, and last time she wasn't talking to me was a couple years ago. I don't remember what it was. She got mad, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to do this. So I blocked her on everything. And we didn't talk for 2 years, except for civilly at like family events and stuff. But like, I didn't really ever see my niece or my nephew outside of those events. Finally, we got close. We've been good for a while. I honestly don't even know how long. And then I, in my stupid big sisterly mindset, offered her some help that was not taken well. And maybe it wasn't expressed very well, and that is on me. And because of the way that I tried to offer her help, she, lashed out at me. Well, she lashed out at me, I lashed out at her, and then it just went from there. And then it was like, okay, not doing this. So we're not talking. It's cool. Sucks, but it's cool. It's not the first time. It's hopefully going to be the last, but it's not the first. So then, my grandmother is finally back home from the hospital and the nursing home and all of that, which normally would be very exciting. Most people don't want their loved ones in a nursing home, but I'm still probably about an hour and a half away from being able to just, pop in any day of the week or whatever. And when my grandmother was in the nursing home, basically I don't know entirely what was said, but basically my mom doesn't want to help my grandmother when she came home. She can't do it or something. She doesn't want to, or she can't. I don't know. Either way, she isn't really getting the help that she needs, and she's lonely again because even though she's built this big old family, everyone has now went on to build their own families. And so me and TJ and Lucas, we all go in to see her on the weekends sometimes, but it's hard to do that every single weekend. And so, yeah, she's just struggling. And it really sucks to see the person who basically has gotten you through everything in life just struggling and lonely, and she wishes she was in the nursing home, and I wish that I could give that to her, but it's also $300 a day or something insane, which I feel like really needs to be a conversation in America, but okay, since we're not having that conversation right now, let me just say it's insane, and I can't afford $300 every single day, unfortunately. But yeah, so I don't know why we moved back. We moved back for family, and I don't know why. It's been very eye-opening, and it started very early on in our move back when, on the second day of our move, we were kind of being shuffled around because of arguments and disagreements from the same people that were like, yeah, come on, it's no problem, you can stay with us, blah, blah, blah. And then it was like instantly problem. And it's been piling on since then. One thing I was hoping I could get started when we moved back was Sunday dinner with my family. Like, I used to love Sunday dinner. And if you've never done Sunday dinner, you have to at least try to make that like a once a month thing. We used to do it every weekend. Every Sunday, like clockwork, we would go to church. After church, we would go to my grandfather's. We would go to his house, and his wife would make all kinds of food and desserts, and it was so good. Homemade banana pudding, and we would have fried chicken, and we would have just so many things, hamburgers, hot dogs, and I loved it because it felt like we were all one big family, even though that big family was comprised of a bunch of little families. My mom had her kids and her husband, and my two uncles, step uncles, they had their kids and their wives. So everybody had their own family, but when we all got together for family dinner on Sunday, it was like we were all just one big happy family. And I thought that that would be such an amazing thing to add to the mix for my own family. But let me tell you, my sister don't want to go because she don't want to be near my brother. My brother don't want to go because he doesn't want to be near my sister or her boyfriend, which I'm going to be honest, I don't really blame him about the boyfriend. But unfortunately, we don't get to pick our siblings' spouses. And of course, the Sunday that we were going to do it, my grandmother ended up in the hospital. So when I texted everybody about it the night before, my mom was like, I just assumed we weren't doing it because your grandmother's not going to be there. Like, are we not all still family? Even if she dies, are we not going to be able to get together ever again? Like, so yeah, it's been a challenge because we moved back to be with a bunch of people that I don't think even like each other or themselves. A lot of them, unfortunately. So yeah, it's been a nightmare. But we are building a house, and because of that, it will be worth it. We've got 3 acres, and we're going to get some animals. We're going to, start doing a bunch of different things and taking this opportunity to invest and set up our son's life and his future. And so that in turn will be worth all of the chaos that this has been since November. And what makes me really, really excited is that we're only just like a little over 2 weeks away from everything like getting started. And once we get started, what we are doing, what we're like envisioning, it won't take that long to get where we need to be so that we can just move into it and cut our losses on some things, because there are definitely going to be some shifts in relationships when we get into our own place. There's already been some, and we will be implementing more for our peace and our sanity, but there's definitely going to be some core shaking adjustments. But we were able to kind of settle into some things very quickly. So my husband got a job at a local dealership. There's not a lot of them out here. We are in the middle of absolutely nowhere, Tennessee, if you're wondering. And there's 4 dealerships, and 3 of them are owned by the company he works for, and one of them is to be said to be like the worst place to work in the area. So that's cool. So he got a job at a Ford dealership, and he's not loving the place that he's working. He's definitely missing his coworkers from his other job and from Shelby, because they're like frat boys. And I just can't find another way to say it, but they're grown men who act like frat boys. And he's like, I can't even have an intelligent conversation with any of them because they're always talking about men's and females' genitals. I mean, basically. And I'm laughing because if I don't laugh, I'm just going to absolutely be disgusted. But yeah, he said it's just hard to have an intelligent conversation with anyone that is a salesperson at this dealership, and he's not making enough money for what he's used to at a dealership. So he got a transfer, and on the 1st, he does start March 1st. He starts at the Chevy store. So it'll be something new, something exciting, something fun for him. And so yeah, It's been crazy. We got settled. We've well, we're getting settled, finally getting that fully settled. But we got settled into that pretty quickly, and then, after that we got Lucas back into public school. We were homeschooling for like a month, but the adjustment was just a lot harder for him because, like I said, middle of absolutely nowhere, Tennessee. So we don't really have any close neighbors. Like, and the people that are the neighbors, they're not kids. There's no kids. And so we were just having a hard time with the adjustment. He was, my husband was kind of just getting settled into his job, and there was a lot of chaos going on at the house because I have been just absolutely treated poorly. I've been absolutely treated disgustingly. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position to say by who, how, or anything like that. But it's coming. It's coming. Trust me. And so it just was not the right decision for him to be home as much as he was. He needed to be with some friends to kind of make this transition a little easier. And he's still struggling with it a little. You might be able to hear the rain because it's pouring, but I don't know if you can. But he's doing better. And so that was one of the things that we had trouble actually transitioning into, but we got it done quickly, and I think it was in his best benefit at this point in time. So what are we doing and focusing on now? Because at this point, that's what's holding all of this together. That's what's like giving us this hope. Like, oh my gosh. And we're so close. We're so close to getting everything started, and it will take no time to get done what we're wanting to do. So, what is it that is our ultimate goal here? Ultimately, our goal is for us to have more freedom. It's for us to set up some sort of generational wealth for Lucas. So when he's an adult, he's not starting from scratch, because at the end of the day, my husband and I struggled. We didn't have anyone setting up any kind of wealth for us. And on top of that, we didn't really have anyone who knew how to manage what they were making that was barely getting them by. So we never really had anyone teach us how to do it. And so we really struggled, and we want to be in the position to offer those opportunities to him, but also be able to teach him how to appreciate them and how to sustain them when he gets them. I would absolutely love to see my husband be home more. Not have to work as much, us get more time together. That would be amazing. We're looking at getting some animals, so I will probably be selling eggs and stuff like that once all of that time comes around. And then I think the biggest thing we're doing right now is just trying to get the house built where it is livable. It may not be all the right paint colors yet, but it is done, even if it's builder grade, and we are able to move in. And then if we want to paint walls or put tile up or put wallpaper up, then we do that then. But yeah, so that's really our goal. We've kind of engineered and by we I mean me, an entire renewable energy source for our home. And so I've been putting a lot of focus into that. I'm still in school, but I have been putting a lot of focus into engineering the perfect renewable energy source for our home. We're also going to be catching rainwater, so we will be using a system that I've also kind of engineered again to fit the need that we have. Just because, honestly, we want to be as off-grid sustainable as possible. And as far as like internet and stuff, we cannot be completely off-grid with that. We cannot just not have cell phones. But most people, when they think of off-grid, they think about, you don't have cell phones, you don't have internet, blah, blah, blah. But that's really not what it is. It's really just not being connected to the utility grid and the main water source and being responsible for your own energy and your own water sources. And so where we're at, we can get a well, but we want to do rainwater because it is more sustainable. And also, a well costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. And it's not something that we want to have to continue to upkeep, as expensive as it is to upkeep. So, there's not a lot of daily upkeep from what I really understand, but you've got pumps and you've got all this stuff, and if any of that stuff fails, you're responsible for fixing it or replacing it, and they're not cheap. We don't want to be stuck in a position where we ever have to be like, oh, okay, well, power's out, we don't have power, or we don't have water because the pump won't work. We want to know that I'd say 96% of the time, we're good. We got power, we got water, we can cook, we can stay warm, we can get cold, like all of these things. So ultimately, the goal is sustainability and just being self-sufficient. And so I'm really excited. We have a lot of plans, and I might even do an episode or so about them. But yeah, that's where we're at right now in our 30s. We are off-gridding a renewable energy, sustainable, self-sufficient mini farm on a mountain in the middle of absolutely nowhere, Tennessee. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting. It's difficult and it has its challenges, but there's so much joy in this season, even with all the chaos, even with the abuse that has been endured. And to be very clear, not by my husband, he's not abusive, but the verbal abuse that has been endured by me, by him, that our son has unfortunately had to witness, that we're trying to get him out of. Like, even with all of that chaos and all of that destruction and those demons basically just looming over the situation, there has still been so much joy. We do get more time as a family. We do get more recreational time, like out at the park, or like, my husband and I spend a lot of his days off doing stuff for our house, so we're not normally here on his days off. And so it's just, there's so much joy. There really is. Even in the chaos and the craziness, so much joy in this season. And being able to see Lucas just flourish and making new friends, it's just amazing. And the thing about it is, he still has contact with some of his old friends, so he does get to talk to them. He wasn't completely just removed from those situations, but the friends that he talks to, they moved to the month before we did. They moved unexpectedly just as well. And so, yeah, he is getting out, he's meeting new people, and it is hard for all of us, but seeing the improvements that he has been making too, and seeing the things that makes him happy, truly makes some of the hard times just seem less hard. You know, like it's been joyful in the chaos. That's the best way to explain it. That's how my 30s have been at this point. But yeah, so maybe I'll do an episode on the different aspects of our build and stuff, kind of keep you guys updated and stuff. And I will hopefully have a new episode next week, but I'm not going to make that promise because I'm not very good at consistency with the podcast, just to be honest. But for now, this is it. And it was so good to get on here and kind of catch up with you guys. My tell-all book, it's coming out. I don't know when, but eventually it is coming out. And people are not going to love it, I'm sure. But it's definitely... If you knew the hell I've walked through and the furnace that I've sat in, you would know how amazing God is. Because it's amazing that I've even made it this far. Truly. And I'm so excited to see where it goes and get out of this season very, very soon. By his grace. Very, very soon. But yeah, so I will talk to you guys next time. Sorry about the rain, but I'm gonna go cuddle up under a nice warm blanket and listen to it while I pretend to be productive and hopefully take a nap. That's basically my plans for the day. I will see you guys next time. Let it go, give it to God, make good choices. Bye. Thank you for listening to the In Your 30s podcast with your host, Brenda Miller. Hopefully, I will see you guys next week. You can click the show notes and find all of my links to my Amazon store, Facebook, TikTok, and more. And I would be happy to have you on any of those platforms as well. If you have any questions about the In Your 30s podcast, or if you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, please reach out to me. I would love to have you. There is space for you here, and we would love to talk to you. So feel free to reach out anytime, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.